Hi, my name is Jennifer Johnson, and I chose to do my final project with an organization in Collier County called Project Help. Project Help is Collier County's only sexual assault center, and they help people who have been sexually assaulted. They also help people who have had a sudden death in their life, like a homicide, a suicide. They're also first responders with the Naples Police Department on sudden death notices as well. And that is who I chose to do my project with. And my aim was to put together a PowerPoint presentation that could be presented specifically to colleges. And today we are focusing on Florida Gulf Coast University, FGCU, and in hopes that after we've done this video, it's something that can either be presented live to the incoming freshman class and or also even once a year to the student body as a whole, or it's something that could be presented in video form such as this. So I'm going to go through a series of slides as well as sharing a story or two here and there, and we're going to go ahead and get started. And I'm going to go full screen with my presentation. So Project Help, again, their contact information is shown right here. They are in Naples, Florida, and they are mainly service Collier County. Who are they? Well, Project Help is a nonprofit organization that's staffed by professional counselors and advocates, and they're really committed to providing hope, empowerment, and healing to those that are affected by sexual violence, sudden death, or other crimes. And they have free counseling and advocacy services. They also provide our community with a 24-hour crisis and referral helpline, and the number is shown on the screen here. They do have an 800 number, and it's essentially emotional 911 for those in crisis in our community. And they are a certified rape recovery and victim services center. They have been in Collier County for over 30 years. Let's first talk about what sexual violence actually is. It's both a public health problem and a human rights violation. It's a broad term that can be used to describe many other more specific terms like rape, sexual assault, sexual abuse, or incest. And I'm sure you've heard of these terms all kind of interchanged. And some force or implied force is used to perpetrate against the survivors. And in other cases, it describes sexual acts as something that perpetrators will trick or coerce or manipulate survivors into. And sexual harassment is unwelcome conduct of a sexual nature that's sufficiently severe or persistent or pervasive. And it's unreasonable, and it interferes with or denies or limits someone's ability to participate in or benefit from a program activity. And a couple of examples would be request for sexual favors or unwelcomed advances or sexist comments or a single episode of something of a certain kind of behavior would be what would be considered sexual harassment. And sexual violence on campus. Now I'm going to come to you and I'm going to share a story with you because this really resonates with me. It didn't happen on a college campus, but it happened on a high school campus and then in regular life. So what makes me so passionate about this organization and about this cause is that I am a survivor. I dated a guy back in my senior year of high school and beaten and raped many times to the point I can't even begin to count on two hands how many times. And it took a long time for me to get out of that relationship. And now I feel that part of my healing is to share my story with all of you to know what to look for and know what to look for perhaps in friends so that you can help them through something like this, and you can spot it and you can know how to handle it, whether you're in that situation or your friend is in that situation or someone you don't know at all. And if you see something, say something. We've all heard that. And that comes to sexual violence as well. So that is the why behind this project. That is the why behind my involvement in this organization. It's very, very important to me because, again, I am a survivor of it and I want to make sure that it doesn't happen to other people. That's very important. So let's talk about sexual violence on campus. It's a real public health issue. It affects all communities, and honestly, 1 in 5 women will be a victim of a completed or attempted sexual assault while in college. And in fact, most of those, a lot of times, they find a really large number in freshmen in their earlier, like in the first semester of their freshman year. 1 in 16 men will be a victim of sexual assault during college. And among college women, 9 out of 10 victims of rape and sexual assault knew the person who assaulted them. That's a really important number. More than 90% of sexual assault victims on college campuses don't even report the assault. There's many reasons why people don't report. They think nothing is going to actually happen, or they think they're going to face the person who did it with anger and they're going to lash out at them. So that's a lot of times, or they don't think people will believe them. Now, 40% of colleges and universities reported not investigating a single sexual assault in the previous 5 years. And that's according to a US Senate subcommittee back in 2014. Don't you think that's kind of odd? That's very scary because we know it's happening. The impact, of sexual assault can be wide-ranging and have long-term impacts. Survivors experience an increased risk for PTSD or post-traumatic stress disorder, substance abuse, depression, and difficulty in school academically. And a lot of times, they'll just drop out of school. And the perpetrators are unlikely to be reported or held accountable, may go and rape again. And I just have to say, I do agree with the whole premise that there is PTSD. And I'm going to say, for me, it's I can't swim. I don't like being anywhere that anything is near my face. So there's a lot of things that I have dealt with in my life as a direct consequence of what happened to me. And it happens, this kind of thing after it happens, it doesn't just go away. Even if you get counseling, or even if you get that person ends up in jail and spends time in jail for what they've done. It doesn't matter. It's something that still sticks with you and something that you have to really live with the rest of your life. So now let's talk about Title IX. And no person in the United States shall, on the basis of sex, be excluded from participation in, be denied benefits, or be subjected to discrimination under any educational program or activity receiving federal financial assistance. And sexual violence falls under this, I don't know if you want to call it statute, but it falls under Title IX. And it provides guidance for schools and agencies to assist them in complying with the law. And if someone's a victim of discrimination, they can file a complaint under this title. But this actually was an amendment of the 72. It was an amendment of the education of Title IX that prohibited sex discrimination in educational programs and activities. And it includes sexual harassment, including verbal and physical. And that's kind of where that lies. Now, the Title IX coordinator is right here on your screen, Brandon Washington, with Florida Gulf Coast University. His information is right on here in case you do need to contact him. And I encourage all of you to keep this PowerPoint, or keep at least the contact information, because I hope you never need it, but it's there in case you do. And then there is also a victim advocate, Asia Lewis, and she's the case manager or victim advocate at FGCU. So let's talk about healthy sexuality. Having the knowledge and power to express sexuality in ways that enrich one's lives, it includes approaching interaction and relationships from a perspective that's consensual, and it's respectful, and it's informed. It's free from coercion and violence. And it's more than just the act. It's emotional, social, cultural, and physical. And it's our values, our attitudes, and our feelings, and our interactions, and our behaviors. It's all of that. So it has to be looked at as a whole. But what is consent? It means granting permission for something to happen or agreeing to do something. When sex is consensual, it means that everyone involved has agreed to doing what they're doing, and they've given their permission. Consent, though, is not a blanket statement. It is specific for each time, and it's always required. Non-consensual sex, or sex without someone's agreement or permission, is considered sexual assault. And I think a lot of people think that there's a gray line there. And honestly, there isn't. It is what it is. No means no. And you can see here, I have on the slide, yes means yes. The absence of no does not mean yes. Consent is clear. It's affirmative. It's expression of interest, desire, and wants. The exchange of consent involves all parties. Drugs and alcohol do impact that decision making, and it does blur the consent. A person who's intoxicated cannot give their consent. And consent needs to be clear and it needs to be specific. All right, so let's talk about ways to prevent sexual assault, sexual violence, rape. There's a lot of pieces that need to come together to create a comprehensive approach to ending sexual violence. Businesses and organizations like FGCU design a culture that's safe for students, faculty, and staff. And awareness activities like this one can help inform the staff and individual students on resources that are available for support. So there's a lot of pieces that fit together for prevention in that prevention puzzle, if you will. Awareness is one, increasing the understanding of what sexual violence is and its prevalence. Risk reduction. Approaches may help individuals identifying warning signs and learn safety tips. So if you're not sure, again, if you see something, say something kind of thing. If you're not sure about if this person is a good person to be around, you kind of get that gut feeling. That's what I'm talking about. Responses occurs following an assault and works to lessen the impact of the trauma on the survivor and those close to them. And prevention goes beyond raising awareness and reducing risks and engages the community in creating long-term solutions to the social issues. So what should you know? Forensics exams are given at certified rape crisis centers to both male and females, and all exams need to be performed within 120 hours of the situation. Survivors are encouraged to report the crime to law enforcement, but are not required to report in order to receive these services. And services are offered 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. Preventative medications and STI education is available at no cost to the survivors. And these are all things that Project Help brings to the table for a victim and their people that are close to them, their family or their friends. Crisis intervention counseling is available immediately after the exam or, within 24 hours, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. Again, they have certified mental health counselors that are there to help each and every person. And then follow-up counseling is free and confidential. A lot of times they have groups running that help survivors as well. So what can you do? If you're approached or you're in contact with someone who has been sexually assaulted and you want to make sure that, number one, they're safe and you want to be able to help them. Tell them that it's not their fault and ultimately that you believe them, because that is one of the most important things. Inform the survivor that there's a certified rape crisis center and you could contact them for assistance. If they don't want to report it to law enforcement, they can still receive their services immediately from the rape crisis center, such as Project Help. Inform the survivor of their rights to reach out to the sexual assault helpline. They can assist in making the survivor understand their options and they can get the ball rolling. So Project Help will help them through this whole process. And if the survivor wants to report it to law enforcement, have them make the phone call when they're with you. And then the law enforcement will contact the Rape Crisis Center to proceed. Or you can also just reach out to Project Help on your own. So now let's talk about the steps to talking to a sexual assault survivor, because there are a few. So be genuine. Rape is not an easy subject to talk about. And you may be the first person that they're actually talking to about it. And it doesn't matter if it happened yesterday, if it happened 2 hours ago, or if it happened 10 years ago. People still live with this no matter when it happened. And if something triggers this, they just, if something triggers a memory of something that happened, they just want to have someone there to talk to them or talk with them and listen. Empathize with the survivor. Tell them that you care and that you're sorry that this happened. Let them speak and remind them that you believe them and that it's not their fault. Listen to them without judgment. Hear them and don't judge the situation. It's not their fault. I inform the survivor of what to expect and what their rights are. Helping them know what their rights are can help them make their important and informed decisions that they need to make. And if you don't know what their rights are, help them find someone like Project Help that does. E, empower the survivor. Find out what the survivor wants to do because they do have options. V, validate what they're experiencing and how to go forward. Let them know how brave they are or how courageous it is to speak up. E, emphasis on the importance of counseling and follow up. A survivor needs to know that there are people out there that can help and that there are people out there who this has happened to as well, so they don't feel alone. But the best assistance that you can give them is to believe them. That is the number one most important thing, because I can tell you from personal experience, that is one of the most important things. And it's one of the hardest things, because if you have people who, oh, that didn't happen, that kind of thing, that really makes you feel alone and it alienates you even more. So it's really important that you believe the survivor. You believe you're the person that came forward to you. That will immensely help them. So on your screen, you'll see some resources in Collier County, which is Project Help, and then also in Lee County, which is the ACT Center. And then you also have the person that you have on your campus who could help. To report a sexual assault, here's the numbers to the Collier County Sheriff's, Naples PD, Marco Island Police Department as well. So there's programs. Project Help offers programs for those that have been affected by sexual assault, victims of violence, grief and loss from sudden death. Project Help also offers the sexual assault forensic exam. They have a response team with a nurse that comes out and speaks with you. They also do trafficking, relocation assistance, counseling, and crisis intervention. They have support groups that I talked about, trauma-informed therapy and advocacy. And like I was telling you as well, the sudden death response team. And they also have that helpline, which is a lifeline for people going through something like this. So if you have questions, please reach out to Project Help. The number and information is on the screen there. And Project Help, again, is an organization that is near and dear to my heart. It is my hopes that through this presentation, it will help somebody. I know that being a freshman in college, or being anyone in college and walking across that campus at night, or really anytime, or being anywhere, we sometimes feel vulnerable and sometimes things happen. And that is why there's organizations out there like Project Help. They're here to help people who need it, and they're here 24/7. So it is my hope, again, that this helps someone. And again, my hopes that I will be able to get this presentation into the hands of someone at FGCU as a mandatory video or a mandatory presentation that would happen at the onset of doing freshman orientation.